Hi all, this is Satish. So today's question is like, what's a valuable user story, and how do you access the value of a user story, and how do you select valuable user stories to in a particular sprint? Maybe let me start with like first, what's a valuable user story based on my understanding. So. As we all know, mostly like user story, it's a short description of what the end user want in a particular short period of iteration or the sprint, so that some business value he or the business is going to get it. So mostly all these user stories written based on that common well-known invest principle, like where the term V stands for value. So how much value or what's the value we are going to deliver when we complete it by end of this sprint. Maybe before I go, to this, maybe consider an example which I came across in some time back in reading one of the article. I exactly don't remember, but still remember that example only. There was a big contract for huge value of contract signed with the manufacturing company for manufacturing a needle. So the contract said like saying that they have to manufacture needles of size like from this to this, like for example they said like 1 centimeter to 5 centimeter. So what the company did, they went and manufactured with the small no one like small size, and they made a huge profit, which finally ended up all they manufactured together, and they were not able to use it actually at the end. So uh, uh, this is maybe they might not have followed Agile at that time, but still I thought to provide this example. So even user stories, so when writing, like it should have enough detail so that it has the uh, it has a value delivered to the, it should have at least like enough details so that the development team and the product owner and business and are in the same page, so that whatever the team is going to develop will be used by end of this frame. For example, let's say if we have end up in not providing too much reliability, that the user story is having only a few details, few details, the team may end up in asking most of their time asking their questions, or sometimes the team may end up in not getting a particular question asked, which may result in delivering at the end and there will be no actually benefit to the business, or what the expected cannot be delivered. And also if we don't have the required details, minimum required details at the time, the estimates whatever they make go wrong, and also based on these estimates, right, the commitment will made to the stakeholders or the business will go wrong. Maybe let's consider a very simple example. You are developing a login page with a password field. So when you specify there, like it requires a strong password, uh, without providing any of the details, like the password should have 8 to 10 characters, and it should have like combination of alphabets and numerals, and one special character should be included. And what are the special characters? If these details are not provided, then developers may end up in asking these questions, or sometimes if they miss one of these questions to forget to ask, or so we may end up in not building actually the correct future we wanted. On the contrast, at the same time, like if we have too much detail at the beginning, like saying that same login page, so let's say like integrate with Facebook or LinkedIn. So at this time, like even without developing that login page, if you are giving that user story and this information, we are not sure whether that application will going to interpret. If they do some development, that's going to be wasted, and also unnecessary time and effort is wasted here. That's why like having enough enough details in the user story along with that acceptance criteria is important. Is important. Based on these two only, the user story value will be determined. So going to the next question, how to access value of a user story. So to determine the business value of a user story, maybe if in scaled agile, like we know, like we usually do it the WH weighted shortest job first based on the cost of delay by on job duration. We do at a future level, and based on that the user stories are right. In case we are not using the safe model, or so the other pre-test technique we mostly use, like the Moscow, having that what are the must features we need to have at this must and should features should have by end of this sprint. So or release. On the other technique, like the Kano model, like you will be using like what is important and not important from a business end user value. So based on that we prioritize. So before even we arrive at this, before even writing the user story, what I think is we need to understand and come with like actually what the future we need to select. Based on that user stories should be written. For example, let's consider like we have a restaurant, and there are like we are currently serving only lunch for about 50 to 60 people. So so they try to expand their business, so the revenue. So what they thought, they approached a bank and they are agreed to give a loan of 7%. And so there were actually two plans they came with. One is like either expanding on additional 10 tables, or expand or alternatives in addition to the lunch, add serving like breakfast and dinner. So these two options they need to consider based on the amount of money they are going to invest and how much interest they are going to pay back. From there the user story should be written, and that's how I believe like value of user story can be determined. Yeah. And coming to the last question, how do you select actually a valuable user story to a sprint? So this one, like maybe based on end user's journey, maybe I believe like we will be able to determine. One of the method I remember, like I remember the user story mapping technique. Actually, in one of my planning session, there was a question from team member to the product, and how did you arrive at this? Then he went on to explain this, and also often I have heard about this technique, like the user story mapping. This like it's like a framework that used for the product teams to determine the release planning based on the business values and release the features according to the need. So it's like arranging that user stories in order to create a historic view how they fit into the overall user experience. Let's consider a simple example, like you're going to order in an e-commerce site. So first you will have a login, search, then pay, and finally you will get that order confirmation. In this, like for login, instead of that first release, right? So first release, we can determine that first release or the MVP one, what are the things. Maybe instead of even having a login, you can use a like a guest login. So just by providing your any of your contact number or by email, you should be able to immediately on the search option. There will be a number of items. So you can either give a description to search or the item number to search, and later like you can even add some additional features like from your past history, what are the things you can display. And payment initially, like you can have it like pay on delivery, so you can initiate that. After that you can go and integrate with this. So on the order confirmation page, maybe the initially you can only show like whether the order is booked, delivered, like that. Then you can display the history of all these pages in the letter release, letter sprint. So by determining all this in an order, so we would be able to select like what user stories you need for a particular release or a sprint, so that there will be some business value delivered, and they'll be able to get early feedback, and based on that they improve their business. Okay, yeah, this is why understanding about this value of user story, how do you select the valuable user story to a sprint. Yeah, thank you.